everyone. Thank you to Omer and Benito for leading us so far. Like you said, my name is Morgan, and I'm one of our Youth Engagement Fellows here, so I get to support all of you, both high school and college students around the country. So I get to talk to you all about how to run a productive meeting. All right. So first of all, to get this started, I want you all to think about the worst meeting that you have ever been to. Think about the ones that made you fall asleep and made you wish you were anywhere but there. Why? What made those meetings so bad? I want you to take a minute and write that down on a piece of paper, and then give me one word in the chat box just to sum up what made it really bad. All right. A lot of you are saying things like reading word for word, pretty monotonous, no interaction, maybe no visual aids. It was just uninteresting, maybe that they talked too much, and that it's just boring. So those are all really, really good. Now I want to hear about the best meeting that you've ever been to. Give me what made that meeting so good. A meeting that you loved and you thoroughly enjoyed. Write that down on a piece of paper and give me one word in the chat that sums up what made it so good. All right, a lot of you are saying things like there's interactive parts to it, there's an activity, visual aid, it was something that you loved, it was current, you got to meet new people, it was interesting to you. So those are all really good answers. So we really want to think about how we can get our members more engaged, things that they will enjoy and take something away from. Because really this will drive their attendance throughout, and you'll be able to keep them coming back if you are engaging with them. And this won't only be beneficial to you here in your club, but also in the long run in the future, you're likely going to have to attend meetings in a future career. You're going to have to run meetings. This is a really good time to practice and hone in on these skills. All right, so the key first thing that you need to do is set your objectives. So you need to plan out your meeting. There's a lot of different objectives you can try to accomplish. So a couple of these that we've listed here are maybe an educational campaign, event planning, a current topic, member outreach, or maybe just a fun activity. We'll go into these a little bit more in detail, but first up front, you really just need to outline your plans for the whole semester. I would really recommend have one big planning meeting with your exec team at the beginning to discuss your meetings each semester. So plan out the logistics of your meetings, plan out what kind of objective you want to accomplish, what goal you want to have. Google Calendar is really helpful in doing that, so you can use it not only for your meetings, but for events you have or social media, campaigns, a whole variety of things so that you are all on the same page with your exec board. And then also for your exec board, you should set separate goals for your team. These really take precedent and lead the way through your whole general meeting. So I would really recommend doing that first. You need to have a good camaraderie and good team spirit within your exec board. So I would start by setting goals both for your club within your exec board, but also then personally, what does each exec board member want to take and want to get out of being involved? So take a look at those first. All right, so we want to discuss the logistics. So this is all about planning your meeting. We want to discuss the who, what, where, when, and hows. So to start off with who, that's going to take a couple different parts. So first, think about who you're inviting to your meeting and who's leading the meeting. So first, who you're inviting. So obviously you need some interested students who want to come to your meeting. So that's all about member outreach. So how are you going to do that? Raise your hand on your on the computer. Raise your hand if your school had a club fair where you set up and you talk to students about your club. All right, it looks like a lot of you did. Great, so that's a really good way to get an outreach to new members in your school. A lot of different schools have it, but if you don't have a club fair, you can also just outreach to your classmates, your friends, invite new people. That's awesome. So second, we want to think about who's leading it. So a lot of clubs will have their president lead the meeting. However, another great idea is to switch it up. So that's going to keep more kids interested if you're not only having one person doing it week after week, but you're having a different person lead it each time. You can rotate through your exec board members, but you can also have a member lead it sometime. That'll help engage your members and give them more of a purpose within your meeting. So maybe it's a topic that your member is really passionate about or something they're studying. That's a great educational component. Now think about the what. So the what is that objective that we talked about. So what do you want to accomplish? This will really tie in your whole meeting if you stick to one topic, and we'll go into that a little more in a bit. So then think about where. So where is another key part. So we really want to think about consistency in our meetings. Hopefully you have a set place where you plan to have your meeting. Having it in the same place each week will really help keep your members coming back. If you switch it up too often, either they're going to get confused or it'll make them less likely to come, especially on college campuses that are really spread out. Oftentimes they have to plan that a little more in depth because that's maybe a 15, 20-minute walk to wherever they're going. So keeping it in the same place will help keep them coming back. We want to make it easy for our members to get involved. All right, then when. So this is how often you want to have your meeting. So we'd recommend either having a weekly or a biweekly meeting, but how often you have it is really up to you. You know your school best, so think about what works best for your club. You don't want to wait too long to have meetings. Oftentimes kids are going to lose interest if you go too long without a meeting, but then again, if you have too many meetings and too many events, kids can get burnt out and they're going to get tired of it. So try to find that sweet spot. Also, you want to discuss how long you want your meetings to go. We'd recommend about 1 to 1.5 hours. That's pretty common. It's going to depend if you have an educational campaign, a presentation that can change and that can vary if you have a speaker as well. But try to keep it pretty consistent. So the more consistent, again, the better attendance you're going to have. You don't want to talk too much, right? That can bore your audience. So try to keep it succinct and on time. And then also try to make sure that your e-board is meeting once a week as well. So if your exec board is communicating and meeting ahead of time, that's going to help your general meetings run better. And your members are going to notice that. If you all get along, that's going to flow down into the general members as well. So try to plan your exec board meetings for once a week and plan those out ahead of time. All right, so the last part was the how. So this is another two-part. So think about how are you going to get your members to come to your meetings. That can be through things like email newsletters, text reminders, social media. You can use any of those platforms or all of them. A new one we're seeing a lot is the texting reminders. How many of you use the texting app to send reminders to your members? You can just give me a little hand raise if you do. Awesome, that's great. So I see a few of you. So that's just another new idea that we're seeing. You can sometimes sign up for a really easy app that'll let you quickly send out texts to your members. Whatever works best for them, right? So the second part of how is how are you going to run your meeting? And this is what we're here to discuss. So how are we going to engage our members and keep them coming back and really deeply committed to UNICEF? All right, so first we want to think about our key components. So in a meeting, we want to build an agenda that's going to include these areas. So we want to think about active involvement, first of all. We want members to be engaged and included, and this is meaning things like introduction. So each week you might go around and make sure that all your members know each other and that they're getting to know each other, whether it's through an icebreaker or a fun game, something just to lighten the mood and get people talking. That could also be through things like community building activities, team building exercises. Those are really good as well. And then also a really strong part is discussion sharing. So that's encouraging your group members to share their opinions. So if you have a really comfortable environment, that's going to encourage your club members to want to discuss and share their opinions. So make sure that everyone has this safe space and feels safe sharing. Next, we really always want to make sure everyone knows why we're here. We want to know the mission, and each week, make sure that you always remind your members why we're here, that we do what we do to positively impact the lives of children all around the world. To do that, maybe you could do that by showing a video. You could share a post that we post on social media. Maybe it's having everyone share their UNICEF story and how they got involved in UNICEF. Really drive that home and remind those members. Next, you want to think about your content. So this is what makes up your meeting. So have that one goal, whether it's educating your members, advocating, fundraising. Have that one thing in mind and focus on that for your entire meeting. Don't try to change it up too much and don't do too much in one meeting. Try to stick to one topic, because if you try to cover too much, it's going to be all over the place, and that's when it can really drag on as well. So cover one topic, you can do that really well. Another key thing is thinking about task forces. So try to divide up the work that you are all doing. So don't try to take on too much. If you try to take it on all by yourself, you're going to tire yourself out. And also this will help engage your members and help them feel a part of the club. So if they don't feel engaged, they're not going to want to come back. So this gives them a task to do. You can create committees, spread out the important tasks that need done, so it'll give them ownership, and try to create concrete action items for each member with deadlines that they can follow up on. Lastly, you want to think about a follow-up. So at the end of the meeting, follow up with your members afterwards. So you'll remind them of everything you covered. Maybe there were important deadlines to share. This isn't going to only help those people who didn't come to the meeting, but it's also going to help everyone stay on the same page and be reminded of what's going on. This is really helpful to have one exec board member taking those notes and then sending out that email afterwards. All right, so now let's discuss a few of the different kinds of meetings that would be helpful to have throughout the year. So the first one is educational meetings. So this can take a variety of different ways. You might try to have a panel discussion, maybe a couple different speakers that are really knowledgeable about your topic. It could be a film screening. We have a really great one-pager online that we can share with you that has a couple films that we have access to and can share with you, along with some questions to go with it. You could have a member speak about a topic that they're really interested in. It could be something in school that you're discussing or just something that they're really passionate about. And then you could also discuss one of the areas that UNICEF is working in. So those are areas such as WASH, HIV and AIDS, child protection, health, nutrition. There's a whole variety of resources out there on UNICEF's website, so you could really hone in on one specific area and discuss that with your members. All right, and next big area we want to talk about is advocacy. So this is an area that we are hoping to grow in. There's a lot of different ways that you can get involved with advocacy. You could do a letter writing campaign, whether that's just using one of the templates online that you can email through UNICEF's website, or just handwrite a letter. That can be a lot more personable. You could also sign petitions online. You could have a telethon. First and foremost, I would definitely recommend learning your representatives. We gave you guys a great little one-pager that let you fill in the blanks about who your representatives are. So first, take a look at those with your group. You can also learn about the different bills that UNICEF USA is supporting and educate your members about those. The big one that I would definitely recommend learning about is the appropriation bill. So this is how UNICEF USA gets money from the U.S. government. It's a really big part of our funding, so I would definitely recommend you learning more about that. And then the website I've included here at the bottom, but there's quite a lot of ways, so hopefully you guys can incorporate some of those. Another key area is going to be current events. So I'm sure you've all heard about the recent emergencies. There's been a number of them, whether it's a hurricane, the refugee crisis in Bangladesh, the floods in Southeast Asia. There's a lot of different emergencies going on, so I would really recommend you incorporating those into your meeting and then thinking about UNICEF's response to those, and then how can your club respond to that. I've included this picture on the right here. This is actually in Houston, and we have UNICEF USA volunteers along with UPS who are packing boxes there. So that was a way that UNICEF USA was responding to Hurricane Harvey. So I really encourage you all to look into what UNICEF is doing and sharing that with your club, and then thinking how you can respond, whether that's social media, awareness, or maybe a fundraising campaign. Then another area is talking about UNICEF USA's campaign. So this is things like Trick or Treat for UNICEF, and trafficking programs, UNICEF Kid Power, or our Back to School campaign. So these are throughout the year, and if you look online, you'll see our UNICEF Club's year-long calendar, and we've got all of the campaigns laid out for you, and you can think about how you want to get involved with those throughout the school year. All right, another big area is going to be fundraising and event planning. So this is going to be where you think about those fundraisers that you want to hold with your club. So you could have a meeting dedicated purely to brainstorming for this event, whether it has to do with a UNICEF campaign, or maybe this is solely an individual idea within your club. I would really recommend brainstorming committees, break off into committees. That'll really help to drive more ideas and encourage your members to take a role in that. And a part of that committee sharing is then going to be creating those to-do lists. So really have those concrete dates and have those tasks that you want each person to do. You can also create posters during these meetings, whether that's posters, decorations, flyers. That can be a really good creative meeting as well. All right, and another big area we don't want to miss out on is social activities. You don't have to be friends with your members, but we really encourage you to do so. It makes it a lot more fun, and I promise you, everyone involved in UNICEF is incredible, and you're going to meet awesome students along the way, and I'd really encourage you all to really get to know each other. It's going to make your meetings so much more fun, and it'll really encourage your members to keep coming back. If they feel like they have friends in the group, they're going to want to be a part of it more. So things like team bonding activities, maybe think about a club dinner. You can even incorporate that with an activity like a fundraiser where you partner with a restaurant and have dinner at that restaurant that night with your meeting members. You could do events like bowling, a movie scavenger hunt. Get creative. That's really up to you. You'll see some fun pictures up here. Bruce College went to one of those escape rooms where you have to work together to get out of, which is fun. Ohio State went to a local fruit farm where they picked apples and pumpkins, which is cute. Really just get creative and do something fun with your members that will be something that they're engaged in. All right, so now we want to think about some facilitation tips. So a couple of these things are things like energizing the group, which we've discussed, and how really providing that energy and keeping the energy up is going to be really important. Having a start and end time and sticking to that is really important. Like we discussed, that consistency will really help. Create the right environment so that your members do feel comfortable sharing. Make sure that you have an outcome and that it's clear. That objective, your goal for the meeting, make sure your members know that. Encourage participation, encourage people to share their ideas, their thoughts. Always have a plan B, that's really important. Have a backup plan. Things are going to go wrong. They do a lot, whether that's technology or maybe a speaker doesn't show. Always have something to back up with. This is a fun one. Write in black and blue on a whiteboard. I learned this. So if you write in green, you can't see it from far away. Or if you're, certain people are colorblind, those are colors that are hard to see. So write in black and blue, it's really important. And also use visualizations instead of words. So think about how you can make your presentations not a lot of reading, because we're already in school. We don't want to just read things. We want to be seeing things and make that fun. All right, so now I want you all to think back about what we wrote down on your piece of paper at the beginning of the meeting. So you wrote down one bad word that sums up those horrible meetings. What could you have done to improve that meeting to make it better? And you can write that on the chat. I'll give you a minute. Awesome. I'm seeing some really good answers. Having visual aids, awesome. Making it more interactive, that's really good. So definitely think about all of these ideas we've shared and think about how you can make those meetings better. All right, now think about your really good meeting. Out of these suggestions that we've shared, what were things that you were already doing? Awesome, those are some good answers. Things like member recruitment, that's great. Really, that's a great one I forgot about. Just giving your members awards for their participation is great, so that you see them and you're rewarding them for what they're doing is awesome. Yeah, great. Visual aids, making it interactive, good. I really encourage you all to think about how you can keep that energy up and do fun activities and games within it. Because most importantly, we want you all to have a good time with this and learn a lot and want to come back, right? So think about how you can make it interesting for yourself. What would you want to do? And then your members are going to really, really listen to that as well. So thank you all so much. You can follow us on our channels. We're going to be sharing a lot of things that will really help your clubs as well and some other ideas from other clubs. So I really encourage you to go follow us. And then all your questions, we're going to answer these as well. So you can share these here. We'll have a question and answer session in a little bit. And then we'll also share these questions on our Facebook page, and we can answer them there as well. Thank you, everyone.